One day I did ask my stepfather what would happen if I were to tell my mother about my abuse. And he threatened my life and said he'd kill me and dispose my body in the backyard and tell everyone I ran away. So my mother went to the mall to go pick up some stuff for the party, and I had asked to go with her, and she told me that she said yes, but my stepfather said no, I needed to stay behind and help clean up and get ready. So she ended up leaving with the kid, so it was just me and him at the house, and he ended up abusing me, and I called my nanny, and my nanny called the cops. So we had cops that came to the house to talk to me, and right when the cops had pulled up, my mother pulled up, so she had no idea what was going on, and the officers wouldn't tell her what was going on until they had called for backup. Like, there's a lot of backup cars, and they had separated my mom from my stepfather. And at the time when they had told her, when the officers told her about the abuse, I was in the SVU truck across the street, and the officer had told her what had happened, and she just dropped to her knees and just was bawling because she just couldn't believe what she was hearing, and that someone she loved would do that to her own child. I would say it was like the most important thing to me, because my whole thought before I was so scared, because I knew, like, man, she's not going to believe me because she loves him so much, and I'm going to break up this family, and there's going to be resentment, and it's just going to be my fault. And so it's just one of my biggest fears, and that's why I hesitated so much to even try to tell, or not try to tell, but hesitated when my nanny was like, I'm going to call the cops, and I was just like, please don't, no. But just seeing her support just really helped the healing process.
In my experience, just talking to other parents and, knowing kids that have been through it, I've done a lot of reading. Kids don't make this up. I never thought of not believing her. I mean, and she was my child, and she was only 4. She didn't even have the capability of making it up. So, they didn't have the welcome, unwelcome touch or any of that. They had started that education back then, but they hadn't had it yet. When they're only 4, they haven't done that yet, so.
One of the things that I recall, he had a conversation with one of his cousins, and this was the youngest of the cousins in the family, and he was really close with her, and they had a conversation the night before he revealed to us, and somehow it got on this topic of what had happened to him, and she told Teddy that it had happened to her, that her brother had done it to her as well. And so that's when I think the bells went off within him, and I think that's what helped him come forward and say, I need to open up and tell you as much as I can what happened after the first time. I think the fact that he was able to tell us was huge. As we look back on it now as parents, we know a number of families whose children have gone through the same thing, who have committed suicide. And it's, we very well could be in that situation right now if he hadn't come forward to tell us what had happened. I'm pretty sure that if he had kept it in, we would have looked at a disaster square in the face, no doubt about it. So I think that's a critical piece. I think the second thing that we did was we believed him. And I think as we look back on it, and we have some depth of yardage between when it happened and now, I think we feel very comforted knowing that we believed him from the very outset, that there was never a doubt. We never questioned his truth, the authenticity of his story. We knew, in fact, that what he told us really truly happened. And, you know, we acted quickly. We happen to have a good friend who is a high-ranking member of the Overland Park Police Department. I picked up the phone and called him that night, said, what do we do? He said, don't worry, we'll have 2 detectives that will meet with you guys tomorrow. I think you have to look at everyone who touches your kids' lives. And I don't think we can assume that everything is going to be perfect, that it's not going to be a family friend or a relative, because most of the times it is a family friend or a relative. And we just never thought that in a million years it would have happened with one of the cousins.